So we are talking about the conditional tense. In English, it is what would happen. So just like we saw, like I will swim, we use the future tense. In English, we add the word will. In Spanish, we have separate endings that we're used to. In English now, we say I would go to the movies, and we need the conditional tense. Now, there are two different places in English where we use the word would. So let's compare. I would go to the store after school, or I would go to the store if I had money. So in English, the construction is the same. I would go, I would go. However, you're meaning different things. I would go to the store after school. Actually, in this sentence, it's going to be the imperfect tense if I'm talking about how I used to go to the store after school. My dad had a store. I used to go to the store. If I was saying I would go to the store if I had money, that's what you would do on this condition. So if I would go to grandma's house every Saturday, that's I used to go to grandma's house every Saturday. I'd use the imperfect íbamos or iba. But if I'm saying I would go to grandma's house if I had a car, that's when there's a condition that has to be true for me to be able to do it. So that's when I use the conditional, because it's conditional on this other thing. I would go to grandma's house every Saturday when I was young. That's a fact. There's no condition. It's imperfect because I'm describing the past. So if you had a sentence that you wanted to say, they would bring cookies to class, you have to think, do I mean they would bring cookies to class every Friday because it was cookie day in kindergarten? Or do I mean they would bring cookies to class if they had a car that would take them to Hannaford? Or they would bring cookies to class if we had a party? So if it's conditional upon something being true, that's when you use the conditional. So once you've determined you need the conditional, you have to think the future tense. The future tense and the conditional tense are like fraternal twinsies, and I'll show you what I mean. Just like in the future, we don't take off the AR, ER, or IR. You're used to cutting off the AR, ER, IR and adding a separate ending. In the future and conditional, you don't. It's keepsies. You keep the whole thing. And we add our endings. Interestingly enough, the conditional endings are the imperfect endings. Ia, ias, ia, iamos, and ion. So they're endings that you've already seen, only now we're going to add them to the infinitive. So if I wanted to say, I would fight for animals' rights if I were a lawyer, then you'd say lucharia. So you're keeping the luchar and adding the ia. Or lucharías por dinero para el medio ambiente. You would fight for money for the environment if you were older. Or she would fight for, I don't even know, I can't think of an example. She would fight for cats to wear hats all the time if she were not crazy. I don't know. You know, I come up with crazy examples. Lucharíamos or lucharían. Or we would eradicate natural disasters if we could control the weather. Or I would eradicate homework if I weren't a teacher. Or if I were a student. And again, we're adding it right to the ending. We would eradicate school starting at 7:30 if we, could pass laws about it. I don't know. Examples are weird to come up with. All right. So since examples are weird, I want you to draw a silly face right next to your examples. All right. So en un mundo perfecto, ¿qué cambiaríamos si pudiéramos? What would we change if we could? For example, we would eradicate hunger and illness. So we would eradicate hunger and illness if we could, which means it's conditional. So would eradicate is erradicaríamos la hambre y la enfermedad. So there's the eradicar, and we are adding our ending right on to our infinitive. And if they could, people would invest in community work. Las personas invertirían, there's my invertir, my invest, And then we added our ending right onto it. Or volunteers would spend more time with the elderly and the homeless. Los voluntarios, typo, pasarían más tiempo con los ancianos y la gente de hogar, sin hogar. Man, major typos on that one. And of course, there are irregulars. They're the same irregulars as your future tense. So since you're surprised about that, put googly eyes right next to it. So there's los irregulares with our endings. So for hacer, to do or to make, if I wanted to say, I would make my bed if I cared to do so, or I would make cookies if we had chocolate chips, I'd say are, the pirate verb, ar, aria, I would make. Arias, you would make. Aria, she would make. Arias, we would make. Arian, they would make. Or decir, I would tell the truth if I got in trouble. Diría la verdad. She would set the table if it were dinner time. Pondría la mesa. Or, oh, I would have a puppy if I weren't allergic. Tendría un perro. Or, hey, I'd come to your party if I liked you. Vendría a la fiesta. Saldrá, podrá, quer. Interesting about quer, please note, quer in the conditional has two R's. If you forget one of those R's, you've conjugated in the imperfect. And there's a difference between I used to want and I would want. So watch the spelling. Sabra, like I would know that if I ever paid attention. And abra would have the new, there would be. In the future tense, it was there will be something. So this is the new I. If you wanted to say there would be poverty or there wouldn't be poverty, habría would be your verb. Haber sometimes means to have, sometimes means be. So citizens would say goodbye. So here's the dir. Just like we saw here, dir goes to dir, and then you add your endings. Dirían adiós a los asuntos. So citizens would say goodbye to all of our issues if we could. What? Or you would have rights. Tendrías unos derechos. You would have rights if you paid your taxes and weren't in jail. Or you would have success. Tener éxito is to have success. Tendrías éxito. You would have success if you paid attention in school. And that's basically the conditional. We're going to be using it a lot in class. And how about you draw a bunny rabbit or a scary bunny rabbit? A cute one or a scary one? You pick. Surprise me. Adios.